this is my friend Jen. She just won Sky Landscape Artist of the Year. Congratulations. We've all watched it last night. And it was amazing. So, well, I suppose everybody's going to ask you, how does it feel?
It feels a bit more real now. Now I can talk about it because, of course, I've had to keep it a secret for several weeks.
How long have you known?
The final was on the 5th of September, so we're now beginning of December, so 3 months.
Oh my gosh.
And I've never kept a secret in my life that was
really? more
than a couple of weeks. Yeah,
okay.
So it's been
we won't go into that. Don't believe that, I'm sure. But yeah, so now you can tell everyone. And I suppose everybody's emailing and, going bananas and all of that.
Well, it's quite funny because you think everyone watches the programme, of course. You go outside, you've got about half people kind of like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Not everybody's got Sky.
Not everyone's got Sky. But,
yeah.
People have been so lovely and supportive and interested, and it's been really fabulous.
Yeah, so it was filmed 3 months ago.
The final was, yeah.
The final was filmed 3 months ago. And then after the final, you won the big prize, which is a £10,000 commission to paint a painting for who?
For the Imperial War Museum, to commemorate the end of the First World War, but of a particular battlefield in Macedonia that was not really commemorated. So the whole of the Salonika front, which stretches sort of northern Greece, Bulgaria, Serbia, that whole Salonika front, not much was known about that. So, and all the war artists.
No, I didn't know anything about it.
No, and
really?
the war artists tended to focus on stuff that was happening in Northern Europe as well. So I was sent there.
You were sent there. So was that was shortly after the final. You were sent to go to Macedonia and to paint this battlefield, or to paint, an impression of the battlefield. So whatever, were you free to do whatever you wanted to do?
To a certain degree, yeah. I mean, I had several sort of preparatory paintings I did around the area, but primarily there was this view from this hill called Rocky Peak, which looked over a ridge called Costarino Ridge. And that was the site of the battle they wanted to commemorate. So it was that landscape that somehow they wanted to be recorded and built into a landscape painting.
Okay, so they sort of told you, like, we want this landscape to feature.
Yeah.
But you can do whatever you want.
Indeed.
You were allowed to make it into a total abstract, or...
I could have done it if I wanted to, but...
Did you have any instructions? Or...
No, not really. But the thing is that it, at the end of the day, the painting really is not for me. It's for the people and the families who lost relatives out there, or whose relatives survived. So I was careful not to indulge myself too much, because at the end of the day, it's for other people, it's not for me. So to do something that would have been a bit wacky or abstract, or something that I needed to do something that the majority of people can relate to. So hopefully I achieved that. That's
interesting, actually, that you're saying it's not for me. You're not painting for somebody else. So like a commission, do you generally paint with that in mind? Like, this is not for me? I mean, most of our paintings, I imagine, and your paintings as well, are for us. It's what we want to express. It's what we want to do. So was this quite different? Were you constantly aware, like, hold on, this is not about my feelings?
I was aware of that. And actually, it was a really interesting process, because I usually paint for my own benefit, things I'm interested in, things I want to explore. But to know that this had a different purpose, I think helped the painting quite a lot, and helped me. And I found it more interesting. There was just another variable, really. So there was the story of the battle, there was the fact that it was for someone else, the fact that it was commemorative, and all of these things made it, for me, a really interesting project.
I bet.
Really interesting.
So, are you happy with your final painting? Did it take a lot of battles in the studio? Or, how did the process go? Was it okay, you painted something, you were happy, handed it in, and everybody said hooray? Or was it more like,
It was an interesting ride. I think the whole competition has been a bit of a roller coaster, which makes me laugh, because the little painting I submitted was of a roller coaster, and the roller coaster continued. I hurt my back before I went out to Macedonia. I couldn't walk. It was ridiculous, the whole thing. There was one thing after another. And when I got back, I went into the studio, and I knew that I wanted to work on quite a large canvas, and my studio just wasn't going to be big enough. So I had to move into a friend's cowshed on a farm, which was just, actually, it was delightful. It gave me headspace. It was a different environment. It was peaceful. And then once I was there, I worked on the main commission, but I also worked on several other pieces at once, which always seems to help me. Just working on one thing at once is not really...
Is that no good? I only work on one thing at the time.
Yeah, no, I
don't have enough headspace for more pieces.
Well, something I've learned from the competition is I like to work on one thing and get it finished much quicker than sometimes I do, but still like working on several things at once, but kind of to get stuff finished and done whilst I'm working on other things. So yeah, there was... I kind of knew roughly what I wanted to do, but it took about a week or so when I came back from Macedonia to go, right, this is the thing. That's the main one. And as I say, there were these other paintings as well that I think I finished several of them now. So that's good.
Fantastic. So I hear there's an exhibition opening very soon with these pieces in it as well, or are they in the War Museum?
So no, the commission is in the Imperial War Museum, and that's going to be on show from I think the 11th of December.
Okay.
For quite some time. So
Great.
People, and that'll be the Imperial War Museum in Manchester, because that's where they hold the art collection. But the exhibition that's going to be at the Clarendon Gallery in Mayfair, but then it's going to go touring England, is an exhibition of all of the semi-finalists in the competition, including the pieces in the final at Greenwich, but no, not the commission. So it'll be a really, really lovely exhibition, and it'll be on sort of go around the country till February, I think.
Cool. Can you tell just short a little bit? I can write a little intro as well, but just sort of tell people, who are you?
Of course.
She's Jen. She's my friend.
Who am I?
Who's Jen?
Well, I wrote a blog a couple of years ago called I'm Just a Housewife from Thornbury.
That's not true.
Which of course, yeah. No,
so am I then.
So Sophie. But no, I've painted all my life since I was 15. Started painting in oils quite a young age, but didn't go and do a formal art degree at that stage for all sorts of reasons. And I later trained as an occupational therapist, so I've been an occupational therapist all my adult life really, and also specialise in coaching. So
just between brackets.
Yep.
What's an occupational therapist?
I'm not sure it's possible to put it in a succinct thing.
Come on.
We basically help people
do
the things that they need to do every day and the things they want to do. So occupation just means to be occupied. So
right.
It might be anything
so not
from...
related to work,
not related
professional
to work necessarily,
life.
No. We need to get up in the morning, we need to get washed, dressed, we need to cook ourselves food, we need to be able to get to the shops, we need to, we have kids, we need to be able to go to school or work. So it's all about the things that we need to do every day, but also want to do. So that's what OTs
So you help people that struggle for various reasons.
Various reasons. Mental health problems, physical health problems, mental issues, all sorts of things. Okay. So I've been an OT for about 20 years.
But obviously art and, I sort of see you as somebody like a lot of women our age, got like 15 jobs going at the same time. So you're a mum, you've got kids, you're an occupational therapist, you're an artist. You could probably add a few more. Obviously the binding factor is you, but what is that? I would imagine that creativity features in all of them, but what would you say is sort of keeping it all together, or makes it sort of, what's that universal value that goes through all of those things?
I think creativity is a common theme, but for me it's a desire for people to wake up in the morning and have something meaningful to do. And that's whether that's my clients in occupational therapy or for me as well, because I kind of could have gone into painting when I was younger but didn't, but there's always been this desire to make sure that what I do every day, it represents a reasonable mix of me, and I've shied away from being a full-time painter for various reasons. That's kind of coming to the forefront again now, of course, with what's happened. Painting is just something that has to be done. There's no point romanticising it. It's not that I'm sitting around happy in the studio going la-di-da-di-da, isn't this nice?
Such a relaxing time.
No, it's hell sometimes, this. It's not, it's
people ask me sometimes, like, is it relaxing to paint? And I sort of look at them like,
no.
What do you mean?
No.
Relaxing? I'm not doing this because I'm stressed.
No, this is not, it's not, it's sometimes a bitch fest. Quite painful. You can cut that out if you want, but
no, it's fine.
But so it's something that has to be done, and actually, I kind of started to feel that sort of every couple of years, this sort of welling up of like, you're not painting enough kept coming up, and like, this is something you have to do. So somehow, I mean, occupational therapy did originate from the arts and crafts movement. So it has creative foundations. Interestingly, they used to use arts and crafts with soldiers coming home from the war. So it's First World War originated, which is another. We're back to this link with First World War. It's really strange.
Yes.
And so there was a part of me that was kind of like, well, maybe this career in occupational therapy can help me combine my love of creative practice and doing something that was quite structured and a regular job. But I think I always kind of, what I start to realise is actually I'm doing these things, but really I want to be doing the painting myself. So it's time to do it for myself now.
Yeah, it's time to do it for yourself. So when you are, there's this link going on here that when you did that commission for the Imperial War Museum, you were very much aware that it's not for you, it's for other people. There is a function to this painting, commemorative and all of that. When you help other people in occupational therapy, you also working to make a difference to others, to help them find meaning and all of that. But when you paint your paintings, is it you? Is it your inner processes that you want to express? Or do you think about your audience, whatever you want to call it? Do you think about the people that are going to see your paintings and what they feel, or is it a personal process?
I think until recently it's been very much just completely about what I want.
Yeah.
But
it's about your inner process that you want to express in your painting.
Inner process, or just things I find interesting.
Yeah.
But as time's gone on, and
but
especially
do the things you find interesting, do you paint them for the people that look at your paintings?
Not until recently.
Okay.
It's been a recent thing that I've gone, actually, what is the point of this? There has to be some point. There has to be some other purpose than adorning a wall.
Yeah, okay.
There's no point, we can adorn our wall with all sorts of things. There has to be some other benefit from people having this painting in front of them. And that's where I suppose I go from sort of it being quite an egocentric activity to actually thinking, what is this going to do for other people looking at this painting? Beauty is quite an interesting concept in itself, but there needs to be something else going on. So, I'm hoping that the paintings help people prompt some sort of internal questions about themselves, about the world, about all sorts of things that we're confronted with at the moment. And I think that kind of is a bit more valid, really, for me these days.
Anything that made that triggered that change of it being more about your inner thoughts and feelings, and now more thinking about what sort of an effect you want to have on the viewer? Did anything?
I think I got older.
You just got wiser.
I just got older, and I think when you're producing work, you want it to have a home to go to, and if you think about it going into people's homes, you think, well, what will they get from seeing it every day? What will they get from sitting down on the sofa and seeing a painting above the fireplace? And actually, a friend of mine house sat for us a few years ago, and he said, I've just fallen in love with that painting of yours. It's just so many sort of...
That's the way to sell your paintings. Ask people to house sit and you make sure they're everywhere.
But he just sort of said, it's kind of really brought this home to me and that home, and it made me think of this, it made me think of that, and I was like, blimey, that's a pretty amazing thing. It's a very powerful thing.
Yeah.
And historically art was always used. Yeah, but historically art was used to kind of shift stuff, wasn't it? Help things kind of in the world sort of move around, promote thought, blah blah blah. So I kind of think that that's really where we need to get back to, because people are very into making their homes decoratively nice. That's never interested me,
No.
You can go to IKEA and buy a print.
You can buy something pretty anywhere. Yeah, fair enough.
Art needs to have a deeper purpose.
Yeah, I feel that as well. And my paintings are very much about, I want it to have an effect on whoever's looking at it. So I very much think about the audience, and probably much less about my inner processes and all of that sort of stuff. But I don't want to go there.
I think the other thing is that a lot of sense making in art is done afterwards. So what I started to realise as well is that people will look at a painting, they'll start making sense of what the artist was thinking or what they were trying to do. And And actually, a lot of the time, that wasn't what the artist was thinking at all at the time. It's completely constructed afterwards, and much of curation.
That's the thing. Exactly. You can put your inner whatever's in it.
But your then inner whatever's.
You know, technical term. But then somebody else will say, you know, I found such peace and whatever, and you put torment in it.
Yep.
So yeah. That is, but that's okay, isn't it?
Yeah, it's fine.
That's fine.
Yeah, we're human beings are meaning-making machines.
Absolutely, love that. Exactly, we'll create our own meaning. Yeah. Okay. So you're more leaning towards thinking about the effect of your painting than maybe you used to. That's cool. I've got one question about your paintings, and obviously I've been looking bit closer at what you've been doing, although I've seen it, of course, for quite a few years. But what I wrote here is your art looks to me, and I hope you don't mind that I say this, it's very spiritual, I find. So it's very much about inner things, and you know, you can't look at your paintings and just go like, that's a pretty vase. No, you know, there's stuff going on. So it's very spiritual, but and a bit fairy tale-ish. Maybe the colours and the sort of the vagueness of it does. But at the same time, it's very grounded, like you are, I think, actually. Not just because there's always ground in it. You always paint the earth, land. That you never paint sky. Seems to be without land in it, or there's always some earthiness or in it, but also because your paintings, and I said that the other day as well, are very grounded in composition, which I find is a super grounding, you know, factor of your paintings. Your compositions are brilliant. I think they're really, really good. So why? I mean, where does that come from? You think? Why do you think? Because I imagine you haven't done a course about the perfect composition and the golden middle ground or whatever. It sort of comes out of you and it works quite well. So any idea where that comes from? Why are your paintings always, although they are, let's say, a bit airy-fairy, disrespectfully, but they're very grounded in solid composition, and there's always ground and earth there?
I think it's an interesting reflection about kind of versus the sky, because sky doesn't interest me that much at all. Definitely, it's definitely it's enclosed spaces, buildings, dense forests, dense environments. So that's an
there's
interesting
always some
thing.
Solid something there.
I think it might be because I have to stop myself floating away quite a lot.
Tie yourself down.
That's how I tie myself down. Indeed, composition is interesting. So I don't think, you know, I didn't do a formal art training, so I'm self-taught with the help, you know, with mentors and things in recent years. But I don't, and you can read books about composition and kind of get, you know, some general principles. But I think it's only by doing and by practicing and exploring things that you kind of get to grips with what does work and what doesn't.
But many people struggle with it.
Yeah.
And you seem to go for sometimes quite daring compositions. It just works. So you clearly have, I suppose you can just say, well, it's just an inner talent and I don't know. But, you know, it's
I know what doesn't work well.
Yeah.
I think it's probably the fact that I know what doesn't work more than I know what does work. I think maybe it's a bit of luck.
Yeah.
But, you know, I know that doesn't work. Yeah, we're not going with that. That's better. I think that's probably what it is. And also, you know, you're not stuck with a composition. What I am quite brave at doing is kind of, if I get halfway through and think that's not working, you have to make quite brave choices. So I will kind of go, right, okay, I've done some nice painting. Supposedly I've worked quite hard on this, but actually, you know, for the sake of the whole painting working, I'm going to have to go, that bit's got to go, you know, big terpsy rag.
Putting a big triangle.
I knew that would come up. The Quality Street triangle, honestly. Yeah. But that is an example. I mean, it was not working. You had to look at it. And it's just not working.
I love how you tried it. I would do the same, but then in Photoshop, but you didn't have that on the beach, I suppose, or on that place. But yeah, you just try out and think like, and just let it sit there for a bit and see what happens. So,
and I think that's something over the years I've just sort of say thank you to the mentors and things I've had, because they've made me sort of cautious of attaching too early on to what's going on.
Okay.
And being kind of free to make quite difficult decisions and brave decisions. So I kind of
try it out, go for it. Yeah, cool. So I saw you writing about permission, you called it, about the summer exhibition in London, and you sort of wrote that how Grayson Perry, who curated the summer exhibition this year, and how he has opened up roads for ordinary painters, Sunday painters. That sounds really bad, but you know what I mean. Sort of less well-established, amateur, whatever. And in the summer exhibition, you often see, and this year especially, you see, the more amateur artists. I don't know what to call it. Next to quite established RAs and all of that. And in your article, you're sort of saying that's a great thing. It gives permission to us all to go for it, to paint. So do you feel that there is an art establishment that really needs a kick up the butt and needs to come down from their pedestal? And is there not already, isn't there a difference between professional established artist and the Sunday painter? Should that line be gone or not? Or what do you mean?
So there's some massive questions.
Yeah, now you've got 2 minutes.
It's all right. I think the art establishment does need a bit of a kick up the backside, but what it also needs to take on board is that art has been democratised.
Quite a long time already, I suppose.
But even more so in the last 10 years, I can go on my computer, I can one-click purchase oil paints, canvases. They will arrive sometimes the same day from Amazon, and then I can sit down and I can put a YouTube tutorial up and I can learn to paint. That has never happened. It wasn't happening 10 years ago. It's certainly,
true.
So when I say democratised, it's open to everyone.
It's wide open.
Yeah. And the same has happened with writing as well. You can sort of write whatever you want. You can self-publish. You can start a blog, and in some ways, I kind of feel that the art world is a sort of product of capitalism itself. It's kind of, it creates a business in itself, and I don't have an issue with that particularly, except that people place a value on certain objects, and actually it's that ascribed value financially, that will always be in question, and that gives all sorts of people all sorts of quandaries about, why is this worth this and this worth that. And it's the one thing, when people watch the competition, they go, I know there were some horrendous Twitter comments about my work.
I'm sure there always are about any winner.
Absolutely. Right. But what one person likes and wants to pay for and what one person doesn't, it will always be a difficult thing in art. I suppose I like the fact that anyone can paint. I think the exclusivity pisses me off a bit. Oh dear, sorry I swore. The exclusivity is a difficult thing. I don't think, and also this thing about I can't paint. That we'll grow up with from school. I think that's unhelpful. So all of those things I think need to be challenged. I also there's a bit of a, this whole kind of. Go and do a master's degree and learn how to present your work and learn how to curate it and sell it and approach galleries and build your CV. And I'm kind of like, well, this is something we've invented.
Yeah.
We have invented this process, this rite of passage that you've got to go through until you're an established artist. 100 years ago, that wasn't.
Yeah. So do you still feel like there's a tendency to appreciate artists that have done that more than the self-taught ones that sort of struggling to surface?
I think that the self-taught ones are sort of having their moment. Actually, I think
What about self-taught?
Yeah. But I think it's probably the roots in are probably a bit easier for those that have gone through that kind of pathway. But the self-taught random ones like you and I think it's people like us are sort of breaking through. But it's still sort of
There's still people asking me, like, should I even try to be an artist if I haven't done an arts degree? And I'm like, you're asking me?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But, the historically famous artists, they've got such diverse background,
Yeah.
no one could say particularly that history gives us a particular recipe for success in the arts, you know. So I think we need to kind of unhitch from that. And also, you know, as a woman, as both of us, you know, women are so unrepresented in art history that it gives a completely wrong view of where we've come from and where we
So would you say that the current sort of establishment, you know, you made it through, you've been through college, you've done you've done all those processes, that still, I think so, that still excludes women often, not always, you know, there are plenty of cases where it worked, but
there's very few women I know that especially that have had a family, that can trot along that process and perform in that realm. It really is excluding so many people.
I agree. And the men, you know, they have a wife who does the things that we do while we try and paint.
And a lot of those women, while they're trying to paint and run the house, a lot of them have a part-time job as well.
Yep.
Because that's what the financial situation dictates.
Yeah, exactly. You need to pay the mortgage or whatever.
And I know some fabulous female artists that, you know, are making it, if you like, but a lot of them have sort of, you know, philanthropic people supporting them, or husbands with good jobs, or they've got a family background that can support them from a financial point of view.
Yeah, they've got income from other sources, which sort of illustrates that it's very hard exclusive to do, and it's very exclusive. Yeah. Absolutely, yeah.
But you know, the thing about formal art training, to me, and I was offered a place on an MA this year, which I had to turn down for a little while because of the competition. To me, the reason for doing it is about the inquiry process and the practice behind it, and helping you build kind of what you can do as an artist and explore that. That's the bit that is of value to me, but I do think you can get that in other places. You know, I worked with a mentor for several years. Even the competition, in a way, gave that to me, because it was such an intense experience.
I bet it is, yeah.
And I've had to think through so much. So, like, almost kind of in the last 6 months, I feel like I've done probably
more
as much
exploring of your art and your goals.
In probably, exactly, in probably the same space of a year of a degree. So
true. But then I suppose as an artist, you have to be a bit of a self-starter.
Yes.
And so you need to find, even if you're in a situation that can give you lots of, you know, searching and exploration and all of that, you need to be able to get it out of there.
Then go through.
And I suppose an art education is sort of easier because it's sort of ready-made and packaged for you.
And now you go and do this.
Well, stepping outside and doing other things in life doesn't always... You don't. Some people might not see how they can utilise it in their own art.
No, absolutely.
So you need a skill to do that, I suppose.
And I've always been on the fringes of things, to be honest. I've always kind of skirted several different worlds at once, and, you know, I know
that feeling.
And I've now got to kind of go, right, jump in really. It feels like I need to jump fully into the art world. Yes, but in my own way.
Does that mean not really, or then a bit on? Or I mean, basically, are you, now that you are, you know, 2018 winner, are you going to ditch the therapy, ditch the children? I'm sure they're not listening. You never know. And, you know, look for gallery representations. Hello dog. You know, are you going to go for it, or are you going to say no? Actually, I quite like to do all these things at the same time.
I am going for it. My work has slowly over the last year or so has been moving away from therapy and coaching anyway. Okay. So that's having a natural kind of progression away anyway. I'm the representation thing by gallery is really interesting. If the right gallery came along, then I'd think about it, but I'm not seeking it at this moment in time because I'm not sure my work naturally fits into a gallery setting terribly easily. So, and that'll be something I can debate with people over the coming months. Be interesting to see that. Yeah. My desire at the moment is to really get back to some decent practice and painting, because all of this competition stuff is lovely, but it's quite kind of like,
it's manic. So you want to just go in the studio and paint?
I need to go and paint.
And
produce some stuff and do some planning. And I've just had a few days away in a hotel just down the road from my house to get some of that headspace and try and think what to do next.
I bet. Yeah, okay. I'm sure it's been crazy, manic and weird. So yeah, it sounds quite nice actually. So you've done a heat, you've done the semi, and you've done the final. Is that right? 3 bits. I did watch it, but my memory is obviously not very good.
And in between the semi-final and final, we went to different places to do a commissioned piece that goes towards the final.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So everybody, yeah, of course. So you did. So this is a typical interview question, but I think it's quite fun anyway. Of the paintings you did there,
yeah,
which one do you like the most?
Oh, okay.
Which is your favourite?
Oh gosh.
So we got the beach where you did those rocks and the stairs, broad stairs, and we had all those cranes. I don't know the name of the places, but you know.
Do you know?
So, and of course, got the final painting.
Yeah, I think in terms of what other people will like most, I think they'll like the painting of Brighton Pier I did, which was the in-between painting for the final.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people loved that painting.
Okay.
For me, I really liked the Quality Street Triangle painting.
Okay.
It might be now known. Because it's just got a really different feel to it, but also this question of competition and also battling in a painting, it constantly reminds me of that. So it's quite a nice kind of like, yeah, this is a successful painting, but it's because you did this and this and this. So actually, I'd say
you know your process, and you know you worked through it, and you made it to the other side.
Yeah. So I'd say the Quality Street Triangle painting.
Is that the title now?
It will be.
Did you have to title them all? I suppose you might have to.
No, but I think I might have done for the blogs I think I did for the exhibition that's coming up, but I probably sort of have to change that. That one.
The Quality Street Triangle painting.
Yeah.
No, I thought it was great. Like I said, but that was one of those. But also the first one where composition and again the ground, as in the earth, structures, solid, all of that sort of stuff. Really, really special, and I love your paintings for that because that's their strength, and your use of colour. But I'm not going to go saying which colour did you use.
It's like, I don't know, mate. Whatever.
You
came
just
out
say
of the
like
tube.
it was a greenish bluish.
Yeah, exactly.
Sort of felt right. That's usually my answer.
Yeah.
I've got one more actually, and then the last question.
Okay.
All of this was outside painting, plein air painting. Do you do plein air painting?
Sometimes.
Was this quite familiar? Do you work outside a lot? Or?
Well, I probably a couple of times a year go outside and paint. So not frequently, but with the wild card, I was a wild card a couple of years ago. You're proper outside, and when we were doing that, it was pouring with rain. It was a really grotty day. So actually being in the pod, do you know what? It's not really plein air painting. You're covered in a thing. You've got power. Got electric power.
Got
if you want it.
It was summer.
It was
nice,
it was really warm. But if it had been cold, you could have had a heater. You've got cups of tea on the. There.
Yeah.
That's not.
Well, yeah. Exactly. We've seen people with sewing machines and irons, so it's not
plein air painting, no.
No.
But I have to say, it is much more fun being outside than being in the studio.
Yeah. Do you want to do that more?
Yeah.
Yeah? I always think it's such a hassle to bring all this stuff.
It is, but I've just this weekend, a few days I've had away, I've been doing some charcoal drawing outside, so that's doable.
Yeah.
If you get yourself organised, it's easy.
Yeah.
You just kind of get to know what you do and what you need and what you don't.
I always find it really romantic. I love the idea of these plein air paintings that stand on a hilltop somewhere and just make something amazing, but I've never got any further than the garden. So the locations where you were fun. Any favourite locations of that lot? Ooh. I don't count Macedonia.
Yeah, no, I'd say probably Felixstowe because that was with the cranes, because it was so odd.
That insane ship that
the ship was hilarious. I would like to say that I did know it was coming, because when we kind of knew roughly where we were going to meet, and I thought, well, that's right in front of the container port. I thought, I'm going to look up the shipping shipping timetable.
Clever.
I'm a geek.
Yeah,
basically.
that was good thinking. So you knew it was coming.
3:00. I knew.
But still, you were painting what you were seeing, those cranes, in your head, thinking one of these monster things is going to just turn up in a bit. So did you also plan what you're going to do about it?
No, I didn't. I think I knew it was coming. But
or did you just think, I'm going to have to stop painting them because the view will be gone?
I think I forgot. I knew it was coming, and then I got so into what I was doing. Actually, I forgot about it. And when it turned up, I was like, oh God, I knew that was coming.
I knew a few hours ago, but then I didn't for a bit. Yeah. So what did you do? Did you just, because you didn't put it in?
I did put it in. I didn't put it in as probably scale-wise, it was a bit smaller than it actually was, but I did put it in, and then but I put it in the same time as the triangle, so you probably didn't notice it going in.
So it's behind it,
Yeah. Because that whole side worked much better then. It really sort of...
Yeah, the left side is sort of more solid, the stuff. I suppose if it wasn't there, it would have been more air and sort of see-through.
So probably Felixstowe was the best location. It was the weirdest one. It was so hot. The day before had been the hottest day of the year in the whole country, and that had been at that place.
It was hot in sort of, was it August, July?
We were there end of July.
Yeah. We've had some hot days, so gosh. But it was an unusual location. But
last year's...
it was asking for architectural stuff. And
last year's semi-final, they went to these lavender fields in Kent, which were really...
I didn't know that lavender fields in Kent.
I know. And they were quite sort of structural in their own way. So I knew that they were going to send us somewhere quite challenging, be interesting. They have a really interesting way of finding their locations, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. So, should I sign up for it? Or anybody else?
Yes, definitely.
Would you recommend it to anybody? Or it just depends who you're talking to?
No, do you know what? I think...
it must have been insane, manic, busy. Have you seen your family at all?
It's been an interesting summer. I mean, we didn't go on holiday this year, partly because of the competition, but also just because I've got teenage kids and they're at an age where going on holiday is quite challenging anyway. I do recommend people going for it because actually being a wild card is so much fun. There's this community spirit going on. With everyone painting away, and it's just such a lot.
Those wildcard areas actually always look like fun. There's loads of people around. So I bet you'll end up chatting to everyone.
You do.
But this year you didn't enter as a wildcard. I mean, you just entered and you were selected.
Well, how it works is you enter, and then for the landscape competition you enter, and if you don't get a place in a pod, you can then enter and get a wildcard place. So you can't. So you enter, just everyone enters at the same time. But I highly recommend that. And, I never expected to get in a pod, obviously. I just expected to be a wild card. But I just think you learn an awful lot about your painting. You go and when you're prescribed somewhere to go and sit and work with, I think as a painter, it's a good challenge because you're not kind of choosing things that you
there's
like.
Lots of restrictions, so you have to make choices, don't you?
Yeah, and you have to do it in 4 hours, and so highly recommend it as a process.
How long would you normally take in the studio to do a painting of a similar size?
Well,
before this programme?
I wouldn't usually work so small. I work quite large. And my paintings can take months, but what I realise is actually... I mean, they take months mostly because I only get a couple of hours at a time. But also, I think I'm producing better paintings with doing them in less time.
Right, yes.
So the time restriction helped enormously.
I often find, like you said, I do a couple of hours because of lack of time, because you've got 5 other jobs. So do I, but I actually think that helps. If I've had a few days not, because I've been busy with the kids or whatever, and then get back to it, it actually helps to not have painted for a bit, so those breaks are actually quite useful.
I always felt that, but I think I've kind of changed my mind on that now, because I think sometimes those few days turn into a couple of weeks, and then I've disconnected completely from what I was doing.
That's true.
Can't remember what my ideas were, can't remember what I was doing, and kind of have to take ages to get back into it and end up repainting things that I didn't, if I'd have carried on working with it,
there would have been, fair enough. That's true.
So it's just a different way of looking at it, I think.
But you would recommend anybody to do it?
I recommend it, and you should do the portrait artist competition.
Really?
Yes, you should.
I can't paint anything in 4 hours.
You can.
I can do a stick man in 4 hours. That's it.
I think you'd be amazed what you can do in 4 hours.
I did actually think, as I've been watching, because you're in it, I started watching all these sky portraits and landscape things. I had never seen it before. I think it's brilliant. I love it.
Yeah.
I think it's a really good series. It's good telly. It's entertaining to watch. And it actually makes me want to paint, because I've been watching the portrait ones as well. And it made me think, like, I should try that. Oh, I should loosen up a bit. I should do this a bit. I thought it was good fun. And also I thought I should try to do something with a time limit, because I've never actually done that.
No. It's a really interesting thing, and it's something I'm going to do with my work now. Is
within life drawing you get like 5 minutes,
exactly.
But that's about
pretend you've got 4 hours, Jen. Just say, right, at the end of this 4 hours, you're going to have to have
But then I won't. I know I won't. And then at the end of 4 hours, I think, like, okay, this is it at 4 hours. Right, can I go on now? I mean, I know I would, because there's nobody who's saying, I would just
But it does make you want to paint watching these competitions.
Yeah.
And I sat watching the other painting competition on the Beeb about 3 years ago, and I remember seeing these artists going off to these locations, and I remember watching it thinking, that's what I want to do. I want to be there doing that.
That's not, it does look like fun. Exactly, it's sort of...
I did.
Once, you did it.
Then I won.
And you won! Super duper.
Yay,
I know.
yay to all housewives.
So I should enter.
Yes, you should.
Us women who have kids and jobs and dogs. Yes.
Yeah, and doggies.
There's a dog over there. So no, well done.
Thank you.
Super duper.
Yeah.
And thank you.
That's all right.
All right.
Take care.
Oh, thank you.